Right. So we're starting the Facebook Live event. Welcome everybody who's joining us for live or during the recording. But today I've got Tyler Ashworth of SaintCX, SaintCX.com, Saint, the letter C, the letter X.com. Joining me today. Thanks for joining me, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nathan. Super excited.
Yeah. So let's get into it really quickly. Your company is all about helping PT owners generate Google reviews. Right off the bat, why should PT owners worry? Why should they care about getting Google reviews? What can it do for them?
Yeah, no, great question. Our company, again, is focused on Google reviews and patient feedback, guys, kind of those two things. And you can gather those privately and then publicly through Google reviews. And so, as we were building Saint and like looking into, okay, what are the ways, how do we make sure that this makes sense for physical therapists and their practices, right? Kind of going through some of the stats. Right, Google reviews has kind of become what we coined the term as modern day word of mouth, right? I think a lot of physical therapists have grown their practices from from word of mouth, from just kind of getting their name out there through friends and family and referrals. And what's interesting is, word of mouth is actually becoming a little bit less effective for, my generation, for that 18 to 34 age group. And they're relying more on Google reviews than on recommendations from friends or family. And so, because of that, Google reviews have just become that much more important in just organic growth of how, quickly you show up on Google's listings, and then just overall just gaining the trust of the people that are surfing the web looking for, for your types of services.
Yeah, I've got my own ideas about it. When I owned my clinics, Google reviews were around, but we didn't really worry about them too much, if you will. But but if I were a PT owner nowadays, definitely would, because I know what it does for you. And I know you're going to share some data as to what it does for your SEO and your Google online presence and being on the first page, et cetera, et cetera. But I think a lot of PT owners, maybe they think that their clinics might be immune to it. Hopefully not, but let's just be honest with each other. When you consider a place that you're going to go to, whether it's a doctor's office or a store or any restaurant, someplace you haven't been to before, how many times out of 10 are you checking them out on the website first, right?
Wow.
Who are these people? Even if it's just to get an address and a phone number, you're going to check out their website. And if you're going to Google for them, inevitably their star rating is going to show up, right? And you want to find the one, and you want to see a good rating in the stars, and you want to see exactly how many people have rated them. So it's just natural for anybody, even outside of that 18 to 34 demographic, that they're going to check you out online. They're going to check your reviews. They're going to check your website to see exactly how are you, what you are, how you are, all that. What is your presence?
Exactly. Right. And kind of before, a couple of years ago, Google, like if you were to search up a physical therapist nearby, like you'd really only be able to see their reviews if like you went to the map view. But now, right, because Google has seen how important reviews are when it comes to people's decision making, they've right now kind of the Google search experience has changed to where, yeah, like you said, right there in the forefront is the number of reviews that you have, right? And then it's not in chronological order either, right? It's reviews that they claim as most relevant. So if they have a negative review, or if you have a negative review that's getting a lot of views from potential patients, right, that's going to be there at the top. And so, our goal is, hey, how can we help you, kind of bury that, make sure that you're taking care of that patient who had a bad experience, but then, kind of pushing that further down with consistent, high star reviews to make sure that you have that your business is being represented properly, right? I don't think any of us are out there to try to, give a bad, bad experience, but it's almost inevitable to not get at least a couple of bad reviews, just because some people just, are going to find a way to complain. So, it's important to keep that in mind when thinking about reviews, for sure.
So if someone were to do some consistent reviews or gather consistent reviews, and good reviews especially, number one, is there a threshold as to like a certain number of reviews they need to shoot for? For example, like in one of my earlier podcasts, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I talked to someone about Google reviews, and they said, you got to hit at least 35 and more, and start pushing past that to be somewhat relevant. Maybe that number's changed, maybe it's the same, but once you hit that, so the second part of the question is, once you hit that threshold, what does that do for a company?
Yeah, no, great question. So I think, before, 35 could definitely do the trick, right? But now with just how much easier it is to leave reviews, right, and how many more people are doing it, right? 35, would be considered very low, especially, even if it's all 5-star reviews. So what we've kind of found, especially in like the physical therapy space, is if you can hit that 300 mark, right, then you're really seen by Google as like the most trusted local provider. And it seems like once you've reached that, it's a little bit more smooth sailing, but it's also kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because we've seen physical therapists who have hundreds of reviews, but the last review they got was a year ago, and Google takes those things into account when accounting for how they're going to rank you. They want to see a couple of things. They want to see high star overall ratings. It's actually better to have between a 4.7 to a 4.9 total, average star rating compared to a 5. Google takes that as more, legitimate, which is interesting, and a lot of people don't realize that. But then consistency of, okay, how often are they getting new reviews, right? Do they come in just massive amounts all at once, or is it pretty consistent, right? Because there's ways that you can pay for reviews, and so they're watching out for that. And then just the context of the reviews, making sure that it's kind of on brand with the service you provide. And then fourth is if you're responding to those reviews. And I think that's one of the biggest things that goes unaccounted for, is making sure that when a patient leaves your review, whether positive or negative, that you're going on to your Google business listing and responding to those, because it takes Google takes that into account. And like specific amount, I think it's 27% of your SEO ranking, which is how high you rank when someone searches some of your key terms on Google. 27% of that is based on your Google reviews and kind of those 4 specific metrics that I kind of just went through.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So tied to that, and you've worked with a number of physical therapy clinics already throughout the country, what has been the benefit? What are some of the results of, number one, increasing the number of Google reviews, increasing or having more recent Google reviews and steady reviews, and staying in that 4.7, 4.9 range and responding? What are some of the results a clinic would expect for doing this work to get the reviews?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, is you're running a business, and you want to have your ear to the ground with how your patients are feeling about your overall practice and the experience that they're having. So I think first and foremost, it just helps bring up more concerns, right? Or just help give your patients more of a voice, and then you can help kind of just pivot from there, right? Talking to your employees about how to properly do things. I think that's one of the first things, that it really just helps you get a good understanding of where your practice stands as far as how people feel about you, right? Because I think there's times where patients might not voice their opinion, but when you're actively asking for their review, right, and their feedback, they'll give that. So that's kind of the first thing. Second, though, is, when you are consistently getting, even just a couple of reviews every single week, you'll start to see that, let's say I'm here in like the Park City area, in Utah. If someone goes to type in, physical therapist near me or Park City therapy, it's not always the person who has the most reviews who will pop up first, right? Again, Google will take a lot of those other things into consideration. So if you're getting consistent reviews and they're high star and you're responding to them, you're going to start being listed higher than other ones who have maybe even 5 times as many reviews as you, but that got those 6, 12, 24 months ago. And on top of that, is I think it really can then really drop your CAC, right? Your customer acquisition cost, right? It's such a cheaper way to find new patients.
Totally.
If you're able to list up top and people are coming to your website and filling out a contact form or calling you that way, you essentially spent what this a platform like Saint would cost you, which is going to be much less than running Facebook ads and Google ads.
To go back to something you said just the question before, of course, the follow-up question to Google looks at 20% of their rating, 27% of the ratings go towards looking at your Google reviews. Do you know what the rest of that 73% is broken down by chance?
Yeah. So the rest of it, another massive part of it, and what I want to talk about a little bit today, and I can kind of transition into that, is your Google My Business listing, right? So like when you go and claim that, and if you haven't, like that's the first step. Like make sure that you are claiming your business. When you do it, make sure that you do it under a new Google account, right? Don't do it under your personal Gmail. Start a new Gmail account, open that up. So it's just kind of separated and that keeps it clean. But I think that's number one. And the second, number one being number of reviews and the consistency and all that I talked about. But number two is your Google My Business listing accurate? And are the keywords that you're using, do they truly tie to the services that you provide? So what Google will do, right, is it's called the NAP score. So it's name, address, and phone number. So if you have your name, address, and phone number on your Facebook account, on your website, on your Google My Business listing, on Yelp, and on these different places, Google will look at all of those different locations. And if one of those fields, whether it's your name, address, or phone number, don't match up, if there's inconsistency, you instantly get dinged, right? And so I think another 20% roughly of how they determine their rankings is based on consistency across your NAP and the accuracy of your Google My Business listing, just as far as keywords go. And then from there, it really breaks down into, okay, your website, right? How many keywords do you have on your blogs, on your homepage, things like that. And then it goes into kind of, breaks down into the lower percentages, right? 7 to 5% is like backlinks, right? How many people are backlinking to your website? How many links are you, linking on your website? Kind of just more true, deeper SEO. So, but again, probably at least 50 to 60% of it is all stuff that you can do on your own without having to like hire an SEO expert and, fully optimize your site, which is good news. Because SEO experts.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you went into that because I'm assuming I would assume that buying Google Ads is going to rank you higher, right? But maybe you're saying that might be a smaller percentage than what I'm thinking. If you can just have some consistency in name, address, and phone number, if you're getting some consistent Google reviews, especially recent ones, and you're responding to them, would you say you're ahead of the pack typically?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Especially in the physical therapy space, right? This is going to be different, right? For a technology company, right? Or like an e-commerce company, right? They're more on, they have more employees to cover these things. But for physical therapists, like if you're doing those simple things, you're for sure going to be ahead of the pack, right? And I think Google reviews can be really helpful, to an extent of where you're able to learn a lot of what people are searching for and like what types of messaging seems to attract and really resonate with your potential clients or patients. But you can do a lot of this without having to spend money on Google Ads.
When you're looking for, or when you're asking for reviews, it doesn't matter what they say. Are you looking for certain keywords or a certain number of letters and certain number of words? Does it matter? I mean, how specific do they need to be on these reviews?
Yeah, no, that's another good point. When patients are leaving reviews, it's good to ask them, hey, would you mind leaving us some feedback via review just on how, on maybe the services you've been getting. The more specific keywords they can provide as far as, hey, I had knee replacement and like, American Fork Physical Therapy has been really helping me, or what that is, that's really helpful. But ultimately, I think a patient can go on and just leave a 5-star review with no text, and Google's going to is going to weigh those much less than even a 4-star review with more text and more context behind like what services they provide. So, when you're asking for it, try to make it in an organic kind of way of asking for them just to, give a little bit of context of why they left the review that they did, because that can go a long way.
Well, I was wondering about that. Are there certain reviews that if you got them, it just doesn't matter? Like your reviews have to be, of course there has to be some text behind it. There has to be some timeliness to it. Are there some reviews where this isn't going to do us any good? Is it just simply those that don't have any text?
I'd probably say those that don't have any text. I think Google, right, will also look at, okay, if this person leaving the review lives in Bangladesh and you're giving, right, services in Florida, it's like, okay, right, this is probably paid for.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of Google's online world. We're all living in it, and they're going to continue to change their algorithms here and there, and our job is to kind of help physical therapists do what they do best, and then we can help make sure their business is staying relevant, right, through kind of Google reviews and patient feedback.
And are you seeing those people who are working on acquiring more Google reviews? Maybe the first step is that they're moving up on that page, maybe getting to the first page of physical therapists near me or physical therapy in X city, whatever that might be. Are you seeing that starting to translate into more referrals or just self-referrals that come across Google searches?
Yeah, definitely, right. It's hard to exactly track, right, that number. Right? People can fill out a form where they can call the phone number. But yeah, just the fact of, right, moving up your Google of like which page you're listed on. Again, like once you're starting to get consistent reviews, it's a pretty quick move, right, over a couple of weeks or months, which is fast in the Google world, to start moving up, right? I think a lot of people want instant results, and that is the benefit of Google ads and Facebook ads, right? Is paying for a Google ad. It can, if you bid the highest on those specific keywords, right, you will be placed at the top no matter what, but then you just pay per click. And so organic Google growth takes a little time, but once you have it, right, it's really hard to lose it as well. And, it's kind of just like a well-oiled machine. Once you have it running, it continues to play to your benefit. Another thing I was going to add, though, one of the questions you asked previously was kind of the benefits that PTs are seeing from this. And something that I think a lot of people wouldn't have thought of as a benefit to consistent, high star rated Google reviews is when it comes to hiring. So I actually met with a physical therapy practice just this last week. And, there's two guys who've been running it for, 15, 20 years, and they're starting to bring on kind of their replacements, right? And some younger physical therapists who just got out of school, right? And bring them on. And it was interesting to kind of talk to, some of these younger PTs about just their experience of like why they ended up choosing going with this specific practice over another. And they mentioned that, they looked at Google reviews, they looked at Glassdoor, right? Like it's 86% of employees and job seekers will research reviews on a business to determine if they even want to apply. So when it comes to like attracting top tier talent, right, or even just you're a great front receptionist or whatever role you're trying to fill, it's becoming more and more common for people to look at those reviews and take that into account, because it can say a lot about the business.
Well, I started off the interview just saying that, people who are looking for physical therapy are going to be looking at your website, but it's the same thing with those people who are looking for work. Or if you're trying to recruit somebody, even if they're not necessarily looking, but you're trying to recruit them, and you're doing that either through student internships or trying to recruit recent graduates or people through LinkedIn and Indeed. Yeah, one of the first things they're going to do is check out your website and see what you're all about, right?
Yeah, and I think to go along with that, partnerships as well, right? I think, less and less, right now, maybe in this industry, people are relying so heavily on, partnerships with other doctors but right, that still can be a big part of your growth and consistency in attracting new patients. And they're also going to look at Google reviews, right? And it's like, if you're, a referral partner, if you're being referred a bunch of people and you have bad reviews, right, that's going to come and be taken into account, right? Because these other referral partners want to make sure they're referring to the best practice possible, right? Who has a good reputation.
What would you recommend to those people who, and maybe this isn't your niche, but maybe you have some insight into it. And that is, what are your recommendations for people who are looking at Google ads? I don't think that's what you guys necessarily work in that space, but what are your recommendations for people who are considering, maybe I should spend some money on Google ads? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah. So I come from a marketing background as well. So I've helped run Google ads. So it's like, if that's something someone's interested in, right, they can reach out to us and we can help get them, in contact with the right people. But I think if you're looking at Google ads, right, don't go into it hoping to spend $5 a day for, a month and see crazy results, right? I think you need to have probably around 2,500 to 5,000 bucks set aside to say, hey, I'm going to spend this over the course of the next 2 to 3 months. And if it goes well, then I'll continue to feed it. If not, then I'm going to stop it. But the hard thing with Google Ads is, turning them on and off, right? Let's say you have one good month and you decide to turn them off for a month or whatever, right? Google's looking for consistency, right? Their algorithms are also changing on the ad side. And so I would recommend, right, finding not a huge agency, but finding someone. I mean, you could even go onto Fiverr or Upwork and you could find good Google Ads experts overseas, right, that do good work for cheap, but have goals behind it, right? I think making sure that you need to know what distinguishes you from the other physical therapists, right? Maybe a couple of, streets down, and whether that's your mission and your vision or specific types of exercises you do, or your ability to help them get the majority of it paid for by their insurance, whatever that might be, make sure to express that in the language that you use on Google Ads, right? Because that's what's going to help you stand out. And that's what's going to really help just drive your ad strategy, right? The worst thing you can do is just throw money at the wall and see what sticks, right? Especially if money's, tight. I think a lot of these large tech companies, right, can do that, but it's just different in the medical kind of service space. So those are some of my initial thoughts.
Well, I love your insight there, because I think a lot of physical therapists think I should do some Google Ads, but they don't know. And one of the first questions that the Google marketers are going to ask is, what's your budget?
Yeah.
Because you kind of answered that right there. I set aside a good chunk of change, $5,000, $6,000, and be committed to it for a period of time to make sure that it gets legs, gets some traction. And simply having those parameters, I think, is huge to let physical therapist owners know that you got to have a budget. It's going to be a few $1,000s. It's going to take amount of time before you even see some results, and also know what KPIs you're specifically looking at. And of course, asking at the front desk where you heard about us is going to be a big part of that. So if you don't have some back-end systems in place to find out where they heard about you, then it's not too much.
I was going to say that. Have goals, right? And know your numbers, right? What is your customer acquisition cost normally, right? How much are you willing to pay, right, for an acquisition, right? Know your lifetime value. Those are numbers that if you know really well, it just helps your Google Ads be that much more effective, right? Because those are numbers that you plug in that Google can work around, right, and optimize your ads based on.
Gotcha. What else can you share with us about Google reviews, or have we covered it all?
Oh, I mean, I don't think you can ever cover everything with Google reviews, but let's see what else I have in my notes, right? It's again, I think it's something that it can't be like a diet, right, where it's like on again, off again, on again, off again, right? I think Google reviews, it's something that needs to be ingrained in just your practices, kind of just daily routine, right? Of like, hey, when you hand off a patient, to the front desk for them to set their next appointment, make sure that you ask, like, hey, would you mind leaving us a Google review, right? We'd really appreciate it. And so it's like, as far as some tips and tricks, which I kind of wanted to go over a little bit as well.
For sure.
When it comes to asking for Google reviews, is kind of the following. So when asking for reviews, they found that if you phrase it as more of like a favor, as them doing you a favor, it can actually build trust in the sense of they feel like you trust them as a patient and that they're then helping you as a business by leaving a review. Right. And so if you can frame it in a natural way as as them doing you a favor by doing something simple like leaving a Google review, that can be really effective. The other thing is making sure that you're giving them the reason why, right? Using the word because is important, right? This goes beyond just asking for reviews. But right, so if you're handing someone off to the front desk agent, you just say, hey, we really appreciate, you coming in today. We hope it helped out, or whatever your kind of spiel might be. And then you say, because we really respect your opinion and your feedback, we'd love for you to leave us a Google review if you wouldn't mind. That would be a huge benefit to our business. I think phrasing like that, you're going to see a lot of success just organically with people going home and leaving your review. Right. And then if you can build systems behind that to where it helps automate that process, which is where Saint can kind of come and help. I mean, it really then exponentially helps the actual chance of them leaving a review. But yeah, those are kind of the things I think I would touch on, is just the way you phrase the question and how you approach, right, the task of asking for Google reviews and feedback for that matter. Those little tips of using frame it as a favor and ask, and using the word because can kind of just help with your success rate there.
What are some of those back end processes that you found have worked well? Like for one prior interview, he would hand business cards over, and I think he had a QR code on the business card, so they would take them directly to where they could just simply click on that link and then type away and put the star in. Business cards are enough, QR codes, that kind of stuff. Or is that what you found has been successful?
That's a great first step, right? I think QR codes can be a great first step. Finding you don't want to just take them to your Google business listing because they still have to dig to find your review link, right? So you want to make it as easy as possible, right? Like, hey, we value your feedback. Would you please do us a favor and leave us a review? And here's the most easy way to do so, right? It's not going to take more than 15 seconds out of your day, because the last thing you want to do is create a job or another task for this person who's already busy, right, to then go and do it, right? And so it's like the best thing is to ask for a favor. That's super easy to do. So QR codes can help. Make sure that you just have like and you can dig for it. If you just Google how to find my Google business link or my Google business review link, it'll help give you that exact link so you can take it, so it takes them directly to there. We've built our platform off of text because people read their text messages, right? And so in giving someone a card that they have to open up their camera and scan it and then click on that link, right, is a little bit harder than, oh, I just got a text, open that up and click the link that way, right?
Nice.
So, yeah.
Now, that makes it a lot easier. Yeah. And where does Saint come in that process? They just help set up those back-end systems and also track how the reviews are going?
Yeah, so what Saint really does, and I'll share my screen here in a second so you can kind of get a better idea of what it does and what it looks like. But I think there's a lot of CRMs or EMS systems, right, that try to send out Google reviews through email, or they first ask for their feedback on how likely they'd be to refer the business to a friend, and then based on how they rate, they'll send them a Google review link. And there's some automation behind that. We've tried to keep Saint extremely simple, so simple that anyone in your office could do it, where they could log on to Saint, kind of have it as a tab on the browser as people are checking in or out, or go onto their phone and quickly put in someone's name, phone number, and it sends them the link that they need.
Right.
And so let me share my screen and kind of give a better idea of what this might look like. So you're seeing this, okay? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So like I said, very simple. There's no specific automation as of today, right? We didn't want to tie into a specific CRM, and kind of the reason why, right now I'm kind of getting more into the benefits of Saint, in my opinion, is I've worked in the text messaging space for a long time, actually, for a couple of different companies. And it is so scary pressing the send button when you're sending out a text to, 1,500, cold, past patients or cold leads, or even 20 people. It's nerve wracking because you don't want to send the wrong thing to so many people and not have a way to undo it, right? Because once it's in their inbox, it's there for forever. And so, we wanted this to be more intentional. We wanted this to be more part of your daily routine, and then more intentional in the sense of, right, contextual as well. Like, hey, you just received service from us, right? We just worked with you. Now will you leave us a review? And it's like, it's right then and there, rather than relying on your CRM, one, to be perfectly up to date, because if one of those fields that you're running these automations off of is wrong, right, it can cause problems. But then also, right, it can take it might take time, right? They might send it at the end of the day when contextually their mind is way past what, the good service they just received. So if you can ask at the right time, right, with it fresh in their mind, you're going to get, right, a longer review with more of those keywords, which we kind of talked about, which overall, right, Google takes into account as better reviews and will help your SEO, right? And just a better response rate overall. So I would come in here, right, and put in your name, Nathan, right, and put in your number, right, and then I click send. And essentially what it does is, the setup process of Saint is also easy to where, you put in the business information, your business information, you just type out your text message, right? And kind of write your hi name, right? Which is the name I typed in, right? Thanks for choosing the business name. And then kind of like that format that I talked about before. Because we value your feedback, would you please do us a favor and take a moment to write us a review in the link below, right? And then it automatically attaches your logo, gives them that link, and it's super slick. And then when you come back here to your dashboard, you can see how many reviews you've received. Usually right here, it'd show how many reviews you're at. And then you can go to the invitations page and just see, okay, who opened it, who didn't, who do I need to follow up with? So that's kind of how Saint plugs in, right? It's not going to be tied to any of your current systems, right? It's a really easy setup where you can just come in and start finding value from it today.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So it's as simple as the front. I can see where the front desk or even the back office just might have this tab open at all times. And if someone says, "Hey, I'm feeling great today. My shoulder is doing this, and I'm doing this for the first time in months, and I have a lot less pain. Cool. Would you mind leaving a Google review for us?" And if they say yes, then you just go into this tab, put in their name, put in their phone number, and it's done.
Yeah.
They can do it while they're sitting on ice or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the perfect opportunity, right? Is like towards the end when they're cooling off or whatever. Yeah. For then, right? They're probably going to be on their phones anyways, right? Just kind of surfing social media. But like I mentioned, we have a feedback tool, right? So the link that is texted to them sends them to just a landing page where it says, do you want to leave a review or do you want to leave feedback? Well, we think that's important because some people want to leave a review, but they also have feedback that they'd like to leave privately, right? And so giving them the option to kind of do both kind of helps kill two birds with one stone. And then any of the feedback that comes in would come in through here, right? And so I really enjoy working with Brian and would prefer to be notified before my appointment if he's not available that day. I don't know, right, how common that is, but I hope you kind of get the picture of where feedback can come as well.
Yeah, because you don't necessarily want them to give that kind of feedback as a Google review.
You don't.
It really doesn't. Not that it's negative per se, but they just want to tell you without leaving it on Google, right?
Yeah, exactly. Saint plays in again. We want to keep it really simple. We want to keep it affordable, right? We know that there's, margins at times can be slim in the PT space, right? And like, high-end, super expensive software sometimes just aren't in the picture. And so we wanted to make sure that this was affordable, really easy to use, something you could get value in, the day after you start and sign up.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, if people wanted to reach out to you, talk to you about Saint and Google reviews and whatnot, how they get in touch with you?
Yeah, no, you could email me directly at tyler@saintcx.com or just go to our website, saintcx.com and just, put in your name and number on that scheduled demo and we'll get you scheduled with either me or my business partner, Jason, and can kind of get you set up. And then from there, it usually kind of takes a day or two to get all the information you need for me to get a phone number set up. And then you're really rolling and we'll give you, kind of free training. And also if you don't, one thing that we're kind of throwing in right now for our partners, audiences are, if you don't have a Google business listing currently, we'll help you set that up for free. So we just want to kind of help you be successful and see benefit from it right off the bat.
Yeah. And I can see where that might be a huge benefit, especially for new clinics, just getting off the ground.
Totally.
Number one, they need to be set up on Google My Business, right? And make sure that everything is set up correctly across different websites and domains regarding name, address, and phone number. But then having that portal immediately for especially newer clients, newer patients at a new clinic to start posting that feedback ASAP.
Yeah. Or if you're franchising, if you open up another location, like it's got to have a separate Google My Business listing. You got to get reviews up there quick, right?
Location?
Different location. So, or at least that's one of the best things you can do, right? Is have those separated. I know a lot of people have it under the same umbrella, but separating that, right? Again, just something Google takes into account of, okay, these guys are legit. They have multiple locations. Both locations have a lot of reviews, play a big role.
That's great. Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to share, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us, Nathan. Really appreciate you.
All right. Have a good day.
Hey, you too. See ya.